video series. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Kia EV6. This one happens to be long range, all-wheel drive, although it could be long range rear wheel drive as well. And we're going to compare it to the Kia Soul EV, which happens to be the vehicle that I own. Now this trim is a little bit different than mine. And what I'm going to do with this video is we're still going to talk about some of the specs because the specs matter, but I'm going to talk a lot more about a real life comparison that you're going to notice in choosing one of these vehicles over the other. So some of those things that probably don't show up in some of the other reviews, we're going to talk about that in here, and we're going to be pretty in depth. We're going to spend about a half an hour doing this video, and if you are not live with us, stay with me. Or if you're not live with us and you want to just skip past some of the intro here, you can skip to the 3-minute mark where we'll get to the content. If you are live with us, I'm going to explain sort of what's going on, and you can certainly stay on for that. I also, if you're not live with us, I'll show you how to join us live when we do these live videos. But really briefly, I think what I want to try to cover here is these are very different vehicles, but they're both EVs, they're both from the same company, they have some similar technology, and I'm going to kind of go over the type of person that you may want to prefer one over the other. So that's kind of how it's going to go. It'll make more sense as we go through it. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is flip the camera around here, and I'm going to show you how to join us when we do our live videos. So that's right over here. When we do a live video, you can, if you know we're doing it live especially, you can come to our YouTube channel, and if you refresh the page, right now we've got a standard video up here. If you refresh the page, you can see that that is replaced when we have our live videos up with this one here. We usually do these at 2 o'clock on a weekday when we do them, and you just click into that. You're gonna have to watch a quick little ad when you do that. When you watch an ad, I'm gonna skip that ad myself. While you're watching that ad, I'm gonna run a little ad. If you are in the market for a new car, you can contact the 3 dealers that support us. That's Brantford Kia, Brantford Hyundai, or Owen Sound Hyundai. The easiest way to do that is just reach out to me. As soon as this video is done, there'll be a link in the description that connects to me, and I will pass your information along and discuss with you what you need, and pass it on to our sales team so they can help you out. So that's the ad, and that's the basics. So, all right, normally what we do is we wait till the 3-minute mark for our regulars to jump onto the live feed, and then we'll go there. And yet it's never Kia or Hyundai in the vehicle ad. So that says something about you. I just had a commenter say it's never the Kia or Hyundai vehicle ads. Yeah, I guess they're not paying enough to get it. That's my guess. They should pay more. And then, you know, maybe I'm a high value channel is what we're getting at. No, it's that's everybody will get a different ad based on their own interests. So whatever you're getting is yourself or someone on your IP address, what they're interested in. All right, really quick news or notes. We'll do one more live video tomorrow. I'm hoping to get the Sportage Hybrid on video tomorrow if it shows up. So that's gonna be live at 2 o'clock tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. And if you're a regular with us, do me a favor, hit the like button. If you're not a regular with us, hey, maybe I can earn that throughout the whole process. We're 3 minutes in. All right, let's get going. Okay, really quickly. Kia Soul EV. If you're American, you don't have this car. You had originally been planned to have this car, but you don't anymore. Kia Soul, long-range all-wheel drive, similar to the American Wind model. Really what we're going through here is the two options of quite popular. There's also a Kia Niro EV. The Kia Niro, we are having a redesign of it. It's essentially a new vehicle. The Kia Soul is due for a redesign. If you order one now, you'll have new lights on this. To be fair, I haven't seen any official documents on the 2023 Kia Soul EV. We have seen the documents on 2023 Kia Soul gasoline. So if you're in the market for this car and you're doing some research, just pay attention to some of the interior and exterior differences on the 2023 Kia Soul, the gasoline model, because the headlights I expect will be the same. There is a change there. There are a couple little details on the inside that are a little bit different visually, but it is just a refresh. So it's really just bumpers and lights that are new on a refresh. And again, the Kia Soul EV is expected to have that. So this is a 2022 Kia Soul EV. There will be a 2023 if you order this, and of course 2023 Kia EV6. Both these cars are going to have some significant weights. My assumption is that this car will be able to get to you quicker than that car. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And there are lots of trim lines. So let's just talk about quickly why I chose these trim lines. One, they're in stock. And bluntly, if they're in stock, that's what I can do. I can't always get the perfect comparison because they're not always in stock. So this vehicle is an all-wheel drive model. This vehicle is a front-wheel drive model. You could get that in 2-wheel drive, but it would be rear-wheel drive. So we're going to talk about that in just 1 second. And I'm going to show you some Kia internal documents here. Kia EV6, what we're looking at today is a rear-wheel drive long range. It is $52,995. $51,995 is the Kia Soul Limited. So very similar pricing in there. And you know, if you're expecting to pay a $1,000 premium for all-wheel drive, that's really the difference between these two vehicles. as far as that all-wheel drive. But there are range differences, there are power differences, there are all kinds of differences. So The Kia Soul can be had in a 139 horsepower, 291 or 295, depending on the spec, foot-pounds of torque Kia EV Soul. This one has the same 295 or 291, I believe, 291 foot-pounds of torque. It's the same as the lower horsepower version, but this one has 201 horsepower. So just so I'm clear, lower trim, 139 horsepower, higher trim, 201. But the torque is the same at 100 or 295, which is an insane amount of torque in a relatively small vehicle, and it makes a lot of fun. Torque, of course, is the power you feel. The 201 horsepower one is a little faster, but if you drive mainly in town, you won't feel a whole lot of difference in power from my gut feeling on the seat of your pants because you have all that torque. Once you get above 60, 70 kilometers an hour, this car is still very fast even without that, but that's where you start to see a little bit extra horsepower sort of take over if you were to actually drag race the cars. Now, interestingly enough, the EV6 is a bigger car, but if you get the lower priced version of this one, you have only 167 horsepower, so again, up from 139, but only 258, down from 291. So you actually have a little bit less torque, a little bit more horsepower, and of course, this has less horsepower than the car we're looking at today as well. If you move up in the trim line, you can go to 225 horsepower and 258, oops, maybe that was wrong. Sorry, that was rear-wheel drive long range I was showing you. So the pricing, rear-wheel drive long range, all-wheel drive long range. So there is a $3,000 price difference there between these two, but this one there's only 1,000. So excuse me, I was wrong on that earlier. Anyways, if you go to the rear-wheel drive, you go to 225 horsepower, 258. So again, more horsepower than the Kia Soul at 201, but less torque at 258. Once you go to the all-wheel drive, you add an extra motor and therefore extra power for 320 horsepower and 446 foot-pounds of torque, and that's kind of crazy. That's a lot, but it's very manageable, very easy to drive. But if you put your foot to the floor, you'll feel it. Now, another difference is if you go with rear-wheel drive on the EV6, 499 kilometers is the maximum range. The maximum range on the all-wheel drive is 441. This is rated range. You go with the lower power one, you have 373. All of this to say, let's start digging into some details. Remember that 373 is a lower end because this car is rated for 385. Now, my personal experience, and this may change over time. I haven't had the EV6 out driving as much as I would like. Certainly not a vehicle that I've had to myself. So electric vehicles calculate range based on how they've been driven. Our test drive vehicle here, which is the one that I spent a significant amount of time with, consistently went out with other people. Everybody who takes that car out, at some point in the test drive, they floor it. It's going to take, I think it's 17 test drives or 17 of the previous drives. I couldn't remember, it could be wrong on that exact number, but it's several previous drives. That's how it's calculating your range. So if I owned this car, it's going to show better mileage than it will on our test drive model. Our test drive model is showing lower range simply because of the way we drive it. But you're going to see some interesting things about range when we get into these cars. All right, we are going to go driver's seat to driver's seat, rear seat to rear seat, trunk to trunk, lighting differences, some safety stuff that's worth pointing out. Lots to cover here. So again, do me a favor, hit the like button if you want. Here we go. The Kia Soul here, one big difference is, again, front wheel drive. When you floor it from a light, it does reduce the power. That 291 foot-pounds of torque, it does reduce power, but you can still spin the wheels here. Having it rear wheel drive, when the car goes forward, the power shifts to the rear wheels, and it's very difficult to slip that tire, even at nearly full throttle. This one, the tire will slip a little bit, something to keep in mind. Once you're all-wheel drive, you will not be slipping tires on dry pavement. It hooks up and goes, so something to keep different. If you're used to a front-wheel drive car, this is your option. If you're used to a rear-wheel drive car, you can get that, but again, also all-wheel drive, and that's what we're looking at today. Let's jump in the driver's seat. Oh, gotta get keys on me. Let me show you the keys. Now, a couple little differences in keys. Right now, they look identical. If you get the Kia EV6, which is this key here, in a higher trim line, it's actually a little bit taller key. It has a few extra buttons on the outside, but that's how it is. Kia EV6 key does have one advantage here. Although it does not have a powered trunk on our vehicle, it will have essentially a remote start. Now the Soul, you can get that through the cell phone only, through a cell phone app, but you have a remote start on the key fob there. This key is essentially identical, except it has the trunk unlock button. That is not a powered trunk on this car, but it's just an unlock. So really a better use for this would be the remote start, but because you can always unlock the trunk there. So the Kia EV6 key, I like what they did with that to sort of make it blend in. Let's jump in, start with the Soul, move to the EV6. Jumping in, leather seats, power seats, no memory seats on the on the Soul EV. You can get memory seats on the Nero EV, which shares the basic powertrain here. Same motor, same battery pack, same things like that. The Nero is rated for 2 more kilometers. This is 383 kilometers. The Soul is 385 kilometers. In here, you have a noticeably more compact feel than in the EV6. Now, that being said, the Kia Soul is one of my favorite cars because headroom is fantastic. The seating position is very, very comfortable. It's hard to explain the Kia Soul seating position. It's a little bit more like sitting at a dining table chair, a little more square than sitting in a lounge chair with your legs out in another car. Kia EV6, your legs are a little bit more out. I wouldn't say this feels lower than the EV6, but some people, or sorry, feels higher than the EV6, but some people assume that this is that way. Now, turning the car on, let's just, start button is down here by the gear shift. Again, similar style gear shift to the EV6. We'll show you that in a second. When we turn the vehicle on, the dash comes up like this. Essentially, this is a screen in there. Now, this being the highest trim line, it does have heads-up display on this little panel here, which will come alive. And, oh, you know what? It says Kia in person, but my camera is not picking it up. Yeah, so it's just sometimes the camera has a hard time filming that. I can see the speed limit in there, but you can't. So we'll just put that away for now. We won't be distracted by it, but there's a lot of things that you can do in there. And again, if you don't want it there, it kind of goes away. Now, I want to talk range. Remember I said this is rated for 383 kilometers, and you can see it's a near full charge. This is a bar graph showing charge. 426 is what it says. So let's just dig in really quickly and see what it would be if it was full. I think we're close enough, but let's just go into the EV menu. You know what? I'm going to do it the easiest way. Oh, there we go. EV menu there. And if you click on here, so at 94%, we're seeing about, so here we go. If it was 100%, 452 is what it would read. So that's interesting because the Kia Soul's range for most users tends to be underrated. Most people don't end up with 383 or 385. They end up with the 425 to 485 is typical. We've seen drivers of this car exceed 500 kilometers of range. So the range is underrated for 3 seasons of the year. We're going to talk, when we talk about range, 3 seasons a year, spring, summer, fall. In the winter, range can change due to traction, due to maybe winter tires, due to cold weather, due to all kinds of things. It does go down, it doesn't go down crazy. That's a whole other video. But 3 seasons of the year, this 452 is fully achievable. And remember, that car is rated for 441 with the all-wheel drive. So we're really looking at similar potential mileage. My experience is that the EV6 gets similar to its range numbers, whereas this one can slightly exceed those range numbers. So again, different way of calculating, and that's going on there. Down here, a couple things. You have the smart cruise control. You don't have a lane follow assist button here. So it has a lane keeping assist that can sort of steer itself, keep it centered, but it's not quite as precise as the newer lane follow assist. And in here, you have all kinds of things. Ignore efficiency numbers between these two cars today. These cars have been at a dealership. They idle, they move slowly. There's a whole bunch of reasons why that efficiency number shouldn't be something you refer to, but you can customize a lot of things in here. Lane keeping assist is right there. You've got your driver attention alert. You've got tire pressure monitors for each individual tire. So a lot of the same stuff, heads-up display stuff, a lot of the same stuff you would see in various other cars. Over here, you got the 10.25 inch screen. So it's a larger screen, but it's not as large as the EV6. This is used to be our largest screen. Now the EV6 is larger, and there's going to be similar to the same well, not the same, but similar software in the EV6. This is sort of a previous version, I guess I would say. Works very well, I should point out. Down here, you do have an automatic climate control. In the gasoline Soul, you have a dual zone automatic climate control on the top trim. In the EV, you do not. It's a single zone, but you can do a driver only. So you can take out your passenger's air completely and just put it on driver only. That can save a tiny bit of range. It's not worth doing in an EV from my experience. Down here, USB-A, and a 12 volt and wireless charging down here as well. Again, gasoline Soul a little different, has a tiered up area, and this is a spot where your phone doesn't charge. It charges up there. Down here's that. So start button, heated and ventilated seats, 3 different drive modes. Technically there's 4, but Eco, Normal, Sport, there's an Eco Plus mode, which is if you're just running out of range, you can use that. And I can show you the dash animation here a little bit. Eco Plus here. So there's Eco, where it's kind of the bluey green, and then it goes to the normal, and then the Sport mode adds a little torque meter over here. So that is the little bar graph that comes up just to show you how much torque you're using. And again, you've got 291 foot-pounds of torque. So when you have changed the drive mode, you can see the range changes. 418 for normal, 405 for Sport, 430. Again, just going to use the power a little differently. So that's what's going to come there. And again, like I said, heated and ventilated seats, heated rear seats in this car, very comfortable. Overall, there's no way around it. This car is slightly easier to park. It is a very easy car to see out of naturally. It also has the good camera, backup camera as well. But this car feels a little bit more snug, and potentially to some at these trim levels, potentially a little bit less premium. Now, again, you have all the features here. You have leather, you have great technology. For most people, they're going to be stepping up in this car feeling like it's a luxury car. But the EV6 probably does feel a little more premium. Let's jump into that car for a second, and we'll take your questions in a minute here. And let's go EV6 right now, though. So again, all-wheel drive, so you're dealing with significantly more horsepower, but let's just start with the range. You have flush door handles here. It is a bigger car. Over here, this is a cloth leather mix at this price point. So again, $3,000 or so more than the last car we showed you, but no real difference. So when I say a little bit more premium, some of you may say, hey, without the leather, it's a little less premium. But I think what happens is when you jump in here, you start feeling like a wow factor of this single panel of glass, which is actually a dual display, which we'll turn on right now. You can see there's your big display over there, and here's your display over here. So a little bit more impressive display over here, let's be blunt. It's just nicer. I think a lot of people will prefer the graphics on this. Now, you may or may not agree with things. This car is charged to about 97%, which you can now see in a percentage over in your dash. The Soul EV doesn't have a percentage in your dash, only in the center screen, but 97% is 457. So again, the idea being this car is going to be rated, it is overrated essentially, or underrated I should say, so 441 is what it's rated to be, but at 97% we're showing 457, and I think that's kind of probably accurate, right? Let's see if we can dig into here the same way. Oops, I'll show you what we're doing. So again, if it's at a full charge, let me just see here, click into there, full charge would be 472. So 441 to 472, which is the last car was 383, and it was rated up for what, 450 something? So you can see that the Soul seems to underrate it less. This one seems to be closer to an accurate range number, which is good to know. It's just marketing material wise, it's good to know that the Soul can get a little bit more mileage, where this is gonna be a little closer to the real world range, but still pretty good. Again, 3 seasons of the year with those numbers. Down here, again, some of the more premium type features down here in this level. You do have this seems difficult and odd to people, but I'm okay with it now. All of these buttons here on your radio buttons can be duplicated by just touching the screen. So you really don't need them. If you want to use your volume control here or your tuning over there, which if we're really honest, if you set this car up correctly, you're going to put your presets in here and you'll never use the tuning button. And most people don't use the volume button anymore because it is available on your steering wheel right over here. So, you know, your passenger could use that. But basically, when you switch these controls over, if you watch me now, I'm going to touch this button. Now your volume control becomes your left side temperature control and your right side temperature control. So if you want to leave it just on temperature, you can do that. If you want to switch it to the, you know, radio type controls and other controls, you still have your automatic climate control over here. And as soon as I touch that and turn it on, really on an EV, you should set the temperature for what you want it for, which I'm going to do right now to, let's call it 21 or so. And then you should leave it on the auto setting and just decide how much auto assist you want. That's going to be probably your most efficient way. And the reason I say that is because some people will end up turning the fan up here. Once I turn the fan up, watch what happens to your range. The fan is at number 8, 437. The fan is at 1, it's 452. Turn it off, and what do we gain? 457 there, right? So fan speed, you want it on the auto section, because if you let it blow a little bit longer, you're going to take range away for no reason. So that's what I recommend. Down here on the higher trim levels, these are sort of touch buttons, but these are regular buttons. This one doesn't have the ventilated seats. It does have just heated. You can get ventilated seats in the higher trims. USB-C down there, USB-A down there, 12-volt port as well down there, another USB, I believe it's a C as well. Yep, there's a C as well down there. So all the ports you could need, and a huge space for your purse, bag, whatever you want to carry. Similar but different. So function-wise, this works the exact same way. You can put it in reverse, you can put it in drive, very easy to get used to, put it in park like that. The way it operates is the same in both cars, but the feel of the control is different. Wireless phone charger here is down here. A little bit faster wireless phone charging in this car than in the Soul EV. Camera button here, which you don't have in the Soul, but we can do 2 ways to bring up the camera. Backup camera is going to be identical in both cars, essentially. This one does have the backup sensors that it shows you here, where the Soul does not have those backup sensors. So something, you know, pros and cons as you go through there. And the only thing that's interesting is the Kia EV6 has the radio controls on this side, where every other Kia has had them here, and the driving controls are swapped. So the EV6 has them swapped. The Ioniq 5 shares the software in this car, but does not have them swapped. All of our new cars are still coming in with the, you know, these on the same side as they always were. The EV6, if you have a Kia, it will be here. I'll show you drive modes here as well. Drive mode's the same kind of thing. Eco, Normal, Sport. There's no Eco Plus mode anymore, really, because you probably don't need it. Most people don't use it. There is a snow mode, though, by holding this down. And I've done a vehicle drive of this in the snow mode, so you can watch that video there if you want to see that. Yeah, so that's kind of that. Oh, sorry, this one does have memory seats here. I don't think I pointed that out. I thought it didn't. I was totally wrong on that. It does have memory seats. And again, when we look inside here, Overall, the other one did have a sunroof at this price point. You can get a sunroof. It would be a bigger sunroof than in this car. Bigger sunroof in the EV6 than in the Soul, but at this price point, you don't get it. So again, Soul has some things that this doesn't because of the price point and because it's a little smaller car, but headroom is still very good here. The complaint with the EV6 is that it's a little bit lower ceiling maybe than the Ioniq 5. However, if you get it without the sunroof, you have tons of headroom still. I'm 6 feet tall, so there's plenty of room here, and you can move the seat up, down, whatever. Different style seats. Both cars are comfortable, but the seating position is different. So try to sit in one over the other if you want to get one. That'll help you out as well. Yeah, you know what? Let's go take your questions. Then we're going to go into, is utility mode still a thing on the EV6? Yes, it is. You can set this vehicle into a utility mode. Great for camping. It essentially, simple terms, it turns the car on so you can use all the features without draining your 12-volt battery. This car still has a 12-volt battery the same way your gasoline car does. But when you put it in utility mode, essentially you can't drive it away, but the car is on so your battery won't go dead. So it's a good way to sort of keep your temperature, keep your other stuff. Have that. That's a great question. So what we're going to do is we're going to go take your questions. We got 50 people on. Let's see if we can get to 50 likes by the end of the video. Yes, drive-in theater is exactly what I've used that example for. The utility mode works well in a drive-in theater. Anyways, we're going to go take your questions. Let's see if we can get to 50 likes while we're here. And we're going to, let me just make sure I'm parked again. And then we'll come back, go rear seat to rear seat, trunk to trunk, and then we'll talk about some of the exterior things as we go. So let me start with your questions. If you have them, write them in right now. Just because it'll take a second or two to get to me, and sometimes I miss them when they come in a little late. We will take more questions at the end of the video. We're going to go another 10 minutes or so let's do that. Pressing the start button twice, is it the same as utility mode? Great question. Absolutely not. Start mode, if you start button twice without your foot on the brake, you're going to go to the accessory or the on mode, but you can still drive away. Use utility mode if you want to have the car on and not drive. You could leave your pet in the car kind of thing. You probably shouldn't. I don't know if you can lock the car in utility mode. I can't remember. But utility mode is what you want to use to not drain the 12-volt battery. I should probably do another video on that in the future, so we'll talk about that in a second. All right, let me just see what I've got here. Okay, can the EV6 actually be ordered? What is lead time to delivery? So technically right now, no Kia today can be ordered. Here's the thing. We are taking pre-orders. So the absolute second that Kia opens up orders, we're gonna put our orders in the order that they came into us, which means by the time you deal with another dealer and they contact you to see if you wanna place the order, your order would have already been placed with us. If you're buying an EV, buy one from Brantford Kia. Done. I've seen too many people come to other dealers instead of us, even though they're relatively local. If you're in Ontario, you should buy from us because we will do what we can to get you things. We will communicate better. I can't speak for other dealers when you have questions. However, we can answer your questions here. We're kind of the experts on this. So some of our people on right now have bought cars from us. I'm hoping that they will vouch for us. We will do what we need to do to keep you communicating. So right now, lead time, I'm not 100% sure. You'd have to connect with our sales team. It is a long wait. It's gonna be a year plus for some of these cars. Now, that could change. Maybe we'll get a whole another allotment from Kia corporate for Canada, and that could change things. But at this point, we have to say it's a very long wait. I would expect the EV Soul to be a little quicker, but I personally don't have that information at hand. I leave the timing with our sales team because it can change a little bit here and there. All right. Okay, asked in another video, but not sure if you got the question. I had a phone call come in. Is there any news on the EV6 GT? Oh, okay, so the EV6 GT is coming to Canada. We expect to see it this fall. Again, the expectation is it will come this fall. Chip shortages and other stuff, that is a potentially flexible timeline. So it will come. That's going to have insane amounts of horsepower. It's another step above again. It is coming. The plan is for it to come. The official timing hasn't been released, but the hoped for timing is already out, and it's going to be fall. All right. Thanks for the videos about EV6 because of you. Unfortunately, I live in Quebec, so couldn't buy it from you. Yeah, if you live in Quebec, buy in Quebec. You get a provincial rebate there. It's simpler for you. If you live in Ontario, buy from us. We've shipped to Ottawa. We've shipped all over the province. I can't say that any clearer, guys. It's going to make a difference for you guys. We don't charge over MSRP, so we'll do what we can. All right, my Kia currently shows 484 at 100%, and that's with 75,500 kilometers on it. So there you go. You can put a ton of kilometers on these cars, and they're still going to overrate. That's a Nero, I believe, from that's a Nero EV from our reader. So there's 484 at 100%. With 75,000 kilometers. So battery degradation, we've talked about that. We've talked about that in these videos as well. There's ways to do things with that. Okay, I'm gonna keep digging through here. Rear seat to rear seat. We're still going for, what we were going for is 50 likes. So we got 66 people on. We got 37 likes. Let's see if by the time I take more questions, we can get to at least 50 likes. It'd be nice if we could hit 70, but we'll see what we can. All right, rear seat to rear seat. Kia Soul, always excellent for rear seat space. In this video, I'm actually gonna put a little caveat on that. Excellent for rear seat space for a very small car. This is a fairly short and easy to park, easy to drive car. And the rear seat is good. Now, if you've been in the back seat of a gasoline Soul, you need to know something. A lot of salespeople will tell you, oh yeah, it's the same thing inside. It is not. So if you're buying a Kia Soul EV, the rear seat is different. This one happens to have 2 levels of seat heating. That could be available on a Kia Soul and gas. Sitting back here, headroom's pretty good, but my legs are just slightly raised off the seat compared to a gasoline Soul, and that's because the floor is higher in this car. It is a different experience sitting in the back of this Soul than a gasoline Soul, and that is something that you need to know. A lot of salespeople forget to point that out because some of them just don't know. They don't sell enough EVs to know that. We sell a lot of them. All right, coming back here, plastic back seats. You do have the pocket only on the passenger side, which is a fail. You got to put that on this side too. Kia's newer vehicles are putting the same thing on both sides, but it is what it is. Down there, a single USB port. So I'd like to see more, and I think Kia knows that. Single USB seat, but again, very comfortable back here with the heated seats. The other thing to keep in mind with this heated seats in the rear, heated seat bottoms only in the rear seats, heated seat backs and bottoms in the front seats. So something to keep in mind. Head space is good though, leg space is good, and the seating position is very good. Now, so in other words, 6-footer behind a 6-footer, not a problem. This car over here, I believe this seat went back further. So we're gonna turn this car back on in the front seat. Yes, it did. So I'm just turning this car on. It has a feature where if you turn the car off, you can move the seat back to give you a little more space. So I'm gonna put it right back to where it was. Yeah, it's good there. And we're gonna hop in the rear seat of the EV6. EV6 is a bigger car. It is noticeable in some ways and maybe not noticeable in other ways. Headroom, less than the Kia Soul. Something to keep in mind if you have a very tall person. Now again, I think a tall person's still gonna fit back here. My legs are a little bit more flush to the seat, although it's still a relatively high floor. If you've gotten in a Tesla of any kind, Model S, Model 3, anything, your legs will not sit like this. If you're 6 feet tall, your legs will sit like this in a Tesla, which means all your pressure is down on your rear end, not spread out over your legs. It's less comfortable in those cars. Kia's got that sorted out. So legs are good here. No heated rear seats at this trim level. And you would have a little bit more decorative door trims on the higher trim levels. You do have these kind of coat hanger style headrests. Some people think that this headrest is very far forward. It's just styling. It lines up quite nicely with the seat there, but you can hang a coat sort of on here. You do have a USB-C port here and a USB-C port there. Kia heard my complaint and they said, hey, we're gonna put a pocket on the passenger side, but we're also gonna put one on the driver's side here. Now you may say, hey, there's no vents down there. Well, you'd be wrong. There are vents in the rear seat there in the door panels, which I kind of like better. It's a little bit more central, better location in my mind. So there are both sides of the car, vents in the door handle. Overall comfort, very good in both. The biggest difference you're gonna notice in the back of the EV6, there is a little bit more width, and boy, oh boy, is there a lot of legroom. So again, the Kia Soul EV probably about here, and you got several more inches there to go up there. So really, really big back seats in either of these cars for what they are. Trunk to trunk. To compare trunk sizes here, we use a teddy bear test. Teddy bear is my pal. Now, I'm gonna throw out a couple little suggestions. EV6, you can technically lower the floor. A little bit, not a whole lot. You know what, let's do that. Let's take the level 1 charger that comes with your EV6 in Canada, not in every country. We're gonna put that on the floor right now, just out of my way. And owner's manuals, I'm just gonna put them out of the way. Somebody was into them earlier. Okay, EV6 trunk. Significantly longer than the Soul EV. We'll show that in a second. But we're gonna do this for a second to lower the floor down. And if I can do this with my left hand, come on, Peter. Oh boy. Okay, why am I struggling here? Oh, you know what? There we go. This one doesn't lower like this? Yes, it does. Why am I stuck? Oh, this one just comes out. I have never tried to do this. So you can take the floor out here, but it does not actually lower. So we're gonna leave that in because, as I was gonna say, practically speaking, you could lower the floor, but you're never gonna do that. But you know what? You can't lower it. I have misjudged that. It's on this thing, or you can take the floor out. Now underneath here, you do have a tire mobility kit right there. But yeah, interestingly, I've never lowered the floor, and I kind of said you wouldn't really do that because it's only a tiny bit of space. You can't lower the floor. In the Soul EV, You can lower the floor. You probably will lower the floor. You have a little cargo cover here on the limited model. You can flip that back. You can take it out. You can do all kinds of things. But the Soul EV has a very large, brand new car. Take the charger out here. This charger does fit down there, but in the brand new car, it doesn't. All right, this floor just fell into place there. And you can see I've lowered it significantly. For a lot of people, you're going to want to do that in a Soul. It does really make a difference, especially if you have a very large teddy bear you need to take around. This is the teddy bear test in the Soul EV Limited. Now, the EV Limited does have speakers here, so that doesn't carve out. The EV Premium would have a little bit more space there. Teddy fits in there just fine. His tummy's underneath the cargo cover. He's fine. The Soul trunk looks small lengthwise, especially on video, but it's fine. I use this as a regular car for my family. We can buy groceries for a family of 4, not a problem. Coming to the EV6 though, boy, oh boy, do you notice the space difference. It is a wider car. Teddy bear is stretched out a little more full. You can fit another teddy bear over on this side here. It is a lot longer floor here. So significantly more rear seat legroom, significantly more length to the floor. The trunk is very, very large in this car. There's no way to explain that any other way. So yeah, there's that. All right, so here's the thing. I'm thinking I'm gonna show you lights. Usually I go about half an hour and then I finish with questions. I'm going to show you the lighting on these two vehicles, and then I'm going to go take your questions. We're going to go a little bit long. We're at 48 likes, so we got almost to where we wanted to be. But if you guys can bear with me, I will get to your questions in a second again. Let me just close these trunks down. We'll just take a quick look at the lighting, and we'll go from there. So, all right, headlights on, left side signal. That car's already on, so that's easy. Let's do the same thing with the Soul. Turn the headlights on over here. All right, we got to turn the car on. Oh, foot on the brake. Again, these are electric vehicles, so I can just leave them running. Left side signal as well. All right, first of all, Kia Soul. Remember, the 2023 model is going to be different. Go online, we've done a video. You can check out our videos, but you're gonna have more of a pronounced headlight look down here, different signals. I just wanna point out that LED lights on all these cars makes a big difference. Those bright white lights, the signal lights down there. Again, we'll move on from this because it does have a sort of a new face. Over here, kind of an interesting trim. On the Soul EV, you're gonna have white lights there, and the newer one, again, has some white lights. On the Nero EV, those white lights, which you see over here, the daytime running lights, oh, they're flickering on and off. Again, that flickering there that you see, that's on the camera only. It's the way this camera acts with some LED lights. They're steady on. What you can see over here is that those steady on lights here, and they are steady on, but you see them flickering there as well. The top side of those switch to your amber signal lights when you're there. So again, picture these lights on steady. There we go, you can try to get them. When they're on steady, that's how they actually look. They're not blinking in real life. And then the bright headlights there. And that top line, there we go. That top line of EVs, again, those lights are not blinking. That top line of white lights becomes your signal light there. Signals in the mirrors of both these vehicles. And we'll go to the rear lighting here as well. The rear of the EV6 really stands out at night. Now, I've done a video from LA on a pre-production version of this car, and in the States, they showed that down here was your signal light. It is not your signal light in Canada. Your signal light is, as they say right here. Again, there's a little bit of a flicker to the camera that's a little different than the signal light. That's just the way the camera interacts with these lights. You can really see it over there. This is a really consistent, dotted kind of look over there. It looks pretty cool. All right, over here, I think these are similar for the 2023, very, very close to similar. So yeah, that's sort of how the lighting works. They are the higher end lights of this trim. Again, the Soul lights will be changing, but LED lights everywhere is really what I wanted to point out, because that's great for safety. It's great for energy usage. It's great for a lot of things. So there's your lighting. There's your everything else. We got 79 people on. We hit 51 likes. I'm going to go take your questions. So if you have questions about either of these cars, now's the time to ask. We're going to try to go through a bunch of them here, and then we'll wrap this video up because we are a little bit over time here. So see if you got that, Teddy. I sent. It's true. Yeah. So somebody sent me a picture. A customer could have had 2 Teddys. Yeah, that'd be fun. I have a picture of a real bear that I encountered very recently. That's what I want to throw in. All right. Okay, so questions. Is there anything new? I'm just going to give you guys a couple seconds to ask anything that you may want to ask that I haven't addressed yet. If I missed your question, feel free to throw it in. Hi, Peter. Is there a ride difference between the Soul EV and the gas version? The gas version hits the bumps a little hard. Not a deal breaker, just curious. So yes, there is a ride difference. So let's talk about it from a spec point of view. The Soul EV is a heavier car than the gas EV. And what that means is they have to put different tuning to the suspension in the car to carry that weight, right? It's not, the parts aren't interchangeable suspension to suspension. So mechanically, they should be different because the Soul is heavier. I feel like the Soul EV rides a little bit better. They also have different tires. The Soul EV tires are not silent. Doesn't mean they're super noisy, but the EV6 has tires that are designed to be a little quieter, and the Soul EV, if you're expecting that fully silent drive at speed, there is some tire noise to that car because of those electric, those range-friendly tires that are on it. When I switched to my winter tires, that road noise changed tone essentially, and there is that. So the tires are different and the suspension is different than the gas. So there is a slight difference. I think it smooths the bumps a little bit better. That being said, it is not quite as refined as a ride as the EV6, but to be very fair to that, the EV6 is a very, very, very good ride car. So I think you'll be satisfied with the Soul EV. I would say, I think the general consensus would be it rides a little better than the Soul gasoline. But I think it has more to do with the weight and the tuning rather than a specific effort to make it feel different. They kind of tried to make it feel similar, but they don't just share parts. So that's a really long answer to, does it ride better or not? It's a little different either way. So there we go. Range of the Soul, somebody asked earlier, it's 383. And again, the EV6 ranges from 373 to 449, with 441 if you go all-wheel drive on the top or on the higher level trims. So there is that. Wait time for EV6, as we kind of talked about earlier. What are we going? So somebody had their comment hidden because it has like way too many smiley faces, but they said they're getting a brand new Sorento tomorrow. That's awesome. These two models are priced similarly. What about the Nero EV? So Nero EV, again, a little higher, right in that range of the Nero EV would be a great comparison as well in here. I just don't have one in stock to show. Keep in mind the new Nero EV is coming out. So if you order a Nero today, you can't order one. To be fair, you can't order any of these cars, but the next Nero we'll be able to order is going to be the redesigned Nero, which we'll talk about a little bit later. You can't order the identical Nero to what was out. To be fair, the Soul is different as well, but the Soul is really more of a cosmetic change than an all-new thing. How come Kia changed the logo? It was time. Most people like the new logo. Some people don't, but I think they did a good job with it personally. So they did that. All right, I think we're gonna leave it there. Which one is a better buy? People like asking this question. Which one is a better buy? If you have to have a sunroof, want something that's a little bit easier to park, need something that fits in a smaller garage, this is your better buy. You can make the argument that the Soul is a better buy because it has features that that car doesn't have. Leather seats and a sunroof, and that one doesn't have leather seats and a sunroof, and it costs more. That one has more range, but not a whole lot more range. That one has all-wheel drive, this one doesn't. So maybe that's your better buy. Here's the thing with which is the better buy. What I'm really good at is showing you the details of the car. And if I miss the detail you want to see, you just have to ask the question and I'll try to show it to you. That's kind of what we do on this channel here. Which one's better for you could be totally different. I drive a Hyundai Santa Cruz. To be honest, a Santa Cruz is not a car I would recommend to everyone. Most people I think would be better served by, if you need a pickup, a full-size pickup, potentially, or if you need a crossover, maybe a regular enclosed crossover. For me, the Santa Cruz was the perfect buy. Same thing with the Soul. I bought a Soul EV short range because when I bought it in 2020, that was a really good value car. Now I would probably go for similar price, a little bit more money, to a lower range of this. Maybe, but maybe not, right? There's options in there. So you kind of have to decide which features matter to you the best, and I can show you the features, and then you can decide for yourself which is a better buy, because what might be a better buy for me might be a completely wrong buy for you. So I stay away from which is the better buy, because it really depends on who you are and what you do. All right, I think we're gonna leave it there, guys. We will be on tomorrow. We are hoping to have a Sportage Hybrid, which I haven't done a proper review of yet. If it shows up in time, we will have that here in our live video. So that's my hope for tomorrow, which means 2 o'clock live, which is, what is it today? I can't even see, my phone's on the wrong thing. What is it, the 25th today? So Wednesday, 26th of May, or sorry, Thursday, 26th of May, we will come on with a Sportage Hybrid if it's available, live at 2 o'clock, 2022. We'll do that. 2023 car, 2022 is the date. All right, thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you again in the next one.